I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook babies.
So you said that the latest Exorcist movie is one of the best movies of the year, and that's going to be like your top Oscar pick.
Not even close. So yeah, it's bad. We like to do horror movie updates even when it's not Horror Fest on the show.
Yeah.
Just random ones. So I watched. Yeah, is it Exorcist? I think Believer.
Yeah.
So it actually has the acting. Some of the acting is very good. I think from the young girls. There's actually 2 possessed girls in this one. One black, one white, because equity. And I think they're actually very good. The movie just doesn't make a lot of sense. And like I've said, I'm going to put on like pretty much any exorcism movie, period.
Yeah.
Especially ones that are connected to The Exorcist. Oh, actually, hold on. Side note, do you see what I shared on Instagram?
No.
I put someone tweeted because there's those like I guess like meme templates that are like, what if we, it's like, what if we kissed, at the Eiffel Tower or something? It's like, what if we kissed on the Exorcist stairs? And I tagged my fiance, like the staircase in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
where the priest gets thrown down. And anyway, and I thought that was funny. She liked that.
Nice.
My fiance's cousin, who I'm also friends with now, lives in DC. So when we do a visit there, which we inevitably will, even though I think it's a fetid cesspool, we'll definitely go to the Exorcist locations. Definitely. I think you can go to that building, the window, which I love, and the staircase. But anyway, so getting back to this, it's like the cheapest Exorcist movie in terms of reeling you in, because it has Ellen Bernstein and Burstyn and who plays the girl again in the first one?
Linda Blair.
Like, if you like type in the movie in Google, it's like they're the 2 that pop up. Dude, fuck this movie. So I'm spoiling it. Linda Blair is literally in the last. Hold on, let me count. 6 seconds of the movie, and that's probably it. It's just so goddamn cheap. And then Ellen Burstyn is she's in it a little bit. She gets kind of mutilated, which is gnarly. But anyway, she gives this line that's like so 20. I wouldn't even say it's 2023, because honestly, I guess it is like Barbie and stuff. It felt more like a 2021 line, where the protagonist, who is I almost said something really racist and said John David Washington, which is not him. Leslie Odom Jr. I knew it was like a triple name. He's investigating how to solve his possessed child, right? Pretty standard fare. And he finds Ellen Burstyn, who just kind of happens to live nearby, I think. Like, this is all in Georgia, and I think she's supposed to live in Georgia. If not, they don't make a very good, they don't really explain where he is. It looks like even like an island off the coast of Georgia or something like that. And she says some line where it's like, she's not an exorcist. They make that very clear. Like, she is not an exorcist, but she like studies exorcists and exorcisms. And obviously her experience with exorcisms is very noteworthy. Of course, she wrote a book. Again, this is within the movie. And there's just some line where it's like, why? It's like, she doesn't want to be an exorcist.
Right.
But it's like, well, why wouldn't they let you be one or something, which you didn't want to be in the first place? And it's like, oh, I don't know. They wouldn't let me in their damn patriarchy. And it's like, and there's it's like a pause after, where it almost feels like they should put like an applause button or like a coda for like applause, because that's when you applause for the patriarchy line.
Yeah.
But the other part of me, it's like, yeah, it's a patriarchy. It's the Catholic Church. It's like literally a patriarchy, unabashedly so. Like that's not even a knock on it.
Right, exactly.
In the other church, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, their pope, which is not the same as the Catholic pope, is called the Patriarch of Constantinople. He's like a really big deal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I thought that was funny. It's like they had to just put that line in there for applause.
Exactly,
Yes, she did the patriarchy line. Let's all be happy. I don't know. The movie's kind of because it almost has some like quote unquote based moments where it's like Leslie Odom Jr. is very anti-religion. He grew up in, very religious South or whatever, and is atheist, but like clearly there are paranormal forces. And while it doesn't necessarily say there's a God, like there's definitely a demon and a devil and Satan.
Yeah.
There's some fake outs. I mean, the Catholic, they kind of do a modge podge of all these like different religions. They kind of have like a voodoo lady. They have a Protestant kind of evangelical preacher.
Yeah.
They have a Catholic priest who's like a total pussy in the beginning, and he like sits outside and eventually comes in, and you think he's going to be the hero, and they're all cheering, and then he gets murdered. Like it's like so anticlimactic. It's like, yes, our hero's here, and then he just gets murked. I don't know. The movie was not good. It didn't make any sense. It didn't explain how they got possessed or anything like that. Definitely don't see it. I think you said, like, before we started recording, you said the RT score is in like the 20s for both, maybe. I don't know. I didn't check. I'm not going to give it that low. Not that that's how RT even works. But I think I'm going to give it like the high 40s right now. Yeah. Which is like 2.5 stars or so. That's some redeeming qualities, but overall just not a good movie, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. When the trailer first came out, of course, I was kind of like, great. Yeah, they're digging that corpse up, right? Yeah. But then, like, I admit that the trailer at least looked kind of cool. I was like, all right, maybe it'll at least be intense. Maybe it'll at least be like an entertaining, even if it doesn't. I'm sure it won't come close to living up to the the high stature of the original, but maybe it'll at least be a fun, crazy horror movie. But it seems like it failed even in just being a decent horror movie in general, much less like, sticking to the legacy of the original Exorcist.
Yeah.
Also, did you watch the new Halloween movies at all?
No, I've
the new trilogy. So it was made so each installment just got worse and worse. Like the first one
usually how it works
was it was okay, and like it wasn't great, but it was like out of like the countless Halloween sequels, I thought that was the best one.
Well, there's usually enough nostalgia there and like enough callbacks where even it's not a great movie, it's still kind of fun. But then exactly, like 2-3 into that,
and also like it focused more on suspense rather than straight up gore, because the original John Carpenter Halloween was not very gory,
not at all.
Yeah, so I was glad. I was like, oh, like they there's a bit of gore, but it focused more on tension and suspense. So I was like, all right, it feels a little bit more classy. But then each one just got gorier and gorier, and then just got less and less suspenseful. And it was like, okay, this is it's a cheap slasher flick now.
So I think I've said before, I don't love the Halloween movie. Like I like Halloween. Yeah, I think it's one of those movies that has more of a cultural impact than like it's a good movie itself. But I know a lot of people disagree with me. But one thing I can't stand, and just kind of takes me out of a movie, like not just like takes me out, but like makes me not want to watch it, is like an unbeatable like villain.
Yeah,
like they can't kill Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And
they eventually do, and
they don't. Like they do, but they don't, because he's just going to be back. Like that's the point, is that just don't kill him.
Yeah,
because you're not killing him.
Right.
Didn't that happen in one of these where they like burnt him?
Oh yeah, like in almost every sequel he dies.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. But he's not, unless because they're not like remaking it, right? Like wasn't this new series not a remake? Like that'd be one thing.
It was like ignore the 30 other sequels. This is the true sequel to John Carpenter's original.
Yeah, and that's also but even in those, I thought he's not. But again, I didn't see him, so I don't know what I'm saying. I'm getting all this secondhand. But anyway, this is something that like right away when I hear that, I'm like, oh, I don't even want to bother. So it's like, what's all this for?
Exactly. So the reason I bring up that Halloween trilogy is because it was the same guy who helmed those films, helmed the new Exorcist, and this was going to kick off a new Exorcist trilogy. That does not seem to be happening because of the failure of this one. So, but like right off the bat, it's like, I don't know, dude, you fumbled the ball with the Halloween trilogy, with the new Halloween movies. Like, why do I think that? Why should I have any trust in you in handling another classic horror movie franchise?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, see, I didn't know. I was actually kind of surprised. Like, this was one of those few times where the first marketing I saw for this Exorcist, like on the subway.
Yeah.
It was like all like billboards in New York City. I was like, what? Like, there's a new. I listen to a lot of movie podcasts.
Yeah.
I just like consume a lot of movie news through Twitter and stuff. And, like, the first I'm seeing is like old school subway, like subway billboards, which to me was all. It was like, oh, sweet. Like, there's a new Exorcist coming out. And then I also got confused because there's another movie out this year called Exorcists, plural. But I don't
there's
think
also the Pope's Exorcist.
Well, I saw that. Yeah, that was pretty good. Like for what it was, Russell Crowe with an Italian accent. That's actually pretty fun. Like, not great, but like good, like fun. Yeah. This movie was bad.
Yeah,
like this, I would recommend the Pope's Exorcist for like a fun Exorcist movie. That was, I think, the first movie I watched for Horror Fest this year. This was a bad movie. Do not watch it. I do think the two girls were pretty good being possessed. It has its usual tropes. It tries to definitely be a little more diverse with like voodoo shit. Yeah. And it starts in Haiti. Again, like, it didn't make any. By the end of the movie, I'm like, wait, how did they get possessed? What happened? What's connected? It was so convoluted.
Yeah. That sucks. But I do like the idea of you stumbling upon this movie like in like an old school 70s way.
It's so weird. I'm sitting on the subway, like pulls into a stop. I'm like, what the fuck? And then the train goes by. I'm like, is that real? Did I just really see an Exorcist billboard at like 80, like, I don't know, 72nd Street?
Yeah, that's cool. So speaking of demonic children in movies, the original Omen from 1976 had a great tagline for like that they had like on buses and subways. It was something like hello, you are one day closer to the end of the world. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And like it was just the Omen and then that tagline, so it was freaking people out like, what's the Omen, what is this about?
And that's in the 70s before, like,
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. I love a good like old, like, just one liner, like old school movie poster billboard. One good one this year that was which was even better in context, which was posted. Do you remember? I think it was early summer, maybe. I don't remember exactly, but there were those fires in Canada that crept all the way down into the US, like the East Coast. Like, New York City was orange for a little. And it also happened to be when the new Diablo came out. I don't know if it's Diablo whatever 3 or something. And the tagline, it just had a big billboard with Diablo whatever, and it's like, welcome to hell, New York. And it's like orange. Like, that is so perfect. Like, that sucks for a respiratory system. That's awesome for Blizzard and the marketing department. I posted it in like one of my summer posts. I was like, I just love that. Another one that now is on one of my favorite podcasts, Red Scare. Like they put it in their merch, which is coincidentally a movie we've talked about from the Tarantino book that I watched this year. It was a hardcore, and it's I can't like, oh my god, that's my daughter, but it's like about their podcast.
Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be, about like a father seeing his daughter in porn, which just has to be the most horrific thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's like they put it on their podcast merch. Like shit like that is great.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right. So anyway,
good episode.
And it's a segue is actually the opposite. So you sent me this article about just kind of I don't want to say year-end wrap-up, but just kind of let's say the state of the state of the industry.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it right now. I think 2023 is the best movie year we've had in a few years. I went on my way this year, and I'm still catching up to watch a lot of movies from the year. So while I didn't see everything in 2022, I saw a lot. I saw almost all the noms. 2021. While I definitely watched a lot of stinkers this year, I watched some really good movies too. Again, I don't know cumulative, and that doesn't. I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. I haven't seen Killers of the Flower Moon. I haven't seen Poor Things, which are supposed to be very good. A bunch of foreign films I haven't seen yet. So like, I'm just saying, overall, or not overall, like there's some movies at the top, like Past Lives and Saltburn, which I know is kind of like controversial and I think criminally low Rotten Tomatoes scores. So I think is a beautifully shot, really interesting movie. Weird ending. I don't know where, but overall, I think a great movie. And I'm liking it a lot, which is the opposite of the Exorcist movie. Like that was a pretty bad one. I saw some really, really bad movies this year. Just in my travails of 2023 cinema. But this article from Variety, I guess I'll just want me to start reading a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So it's from December 20th. It's by Tatiana Siegel. Is that Siegel or Schlegel?
Siegel, I think.
Siegel. Strikes, box office bombs, and huge leadership vacuum. Hollywood says goodbye to the worst year in a generation. Basically, it's saying a few things. So one, it's the kind of pillars of Hollywood are starting to crumble a little in terms of superhero / Marvel movies, Disney movies, so Disney / Pixar, how those two areas, which are kind of like the twin pillars of mass consumer Hollywood, did really bad this year, which I guess I didn't, because those, like, I don't watch a lot of that. I didn't realize how bad it was when you look at the numbers. Did you know that these movies were making so relatively such little money?
I've been reading.
Okay.
I've been keeping up to date a bit with what's going on at Disney, because it seems like they've just been fucking up nonstop since was it the Bob Iger, I guess, returned. So they've been fucking up Marvel, they've been fucking up Star Wars, they've been fucking up Indiana Jones, they've been fucking up Pixar. They've gotten a lot of controversy for like race swapping characters from classic movies, and then those movies just end up flopping and not doing well. And so it's just like, it just seems like nothing Disney has done this year has been doing well, which is crazy, because just up until a few years ago, like Disney was king because of Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar, as well as their own stuff.
Seemed like it was not like it was a roller coaster that was just going up. Like it was never going to come down for a while.
Everything was a hit, a critical and commercial hit. But yeah, it just seems like and because Disney owns so fucking much, because they also own Fox Studios. It's like, when Disney is only one studio, but they own multiple studios. They production companies. So if that whole thing is not doing well, that's a third of the industry that's not doing well.
Let me read a couple of paragraphs here. So Iger came back in 2022. He left in 2020. A lot of why he came back, I thought, was because of the kind of temperament, the progressive political bent that, either real or perceived, the direction they were going in. And I kind of think the writing was on the wall. If I remember correctly, he came in and was like, we're not going to do that so much anymore. Am I misremembering that?
From what I understand, he seems more of a conservative business guy. So it seems like he's kind of like, okay, like we're going to pump the brakes on some of the heavy-handed messaging and focus more on good storytelling.
Right. And I don't think that's happened. So
well, it's a little confusing though, because I think some of the movies that have come out were probably well into production before he came on board. So he probably wasn't. He probably wasn't really in a position to be like, okay, whoa, hey, that Marvel movie, let's get rid of those references to LGBTQIA+. Oh, whoa, yeah, we're doing a white Snow White. We're not doing Rachel Zegler, okay, guys? Like,
wait, what do you mean? Rachel Zegler is Snow White.
Oh no, I'm saying those movies were probably well into production before he came on board, so he couldn't come in and be like, whoa, it was probably too late into production.
Oh, I see.
Whoa, let's not do this, you guys. This is what got us in trouble before.
So let me read this. So he comes back in 2022, November 2022, so end of last year. and he has yet to find his footing in his second outing. The once mighty Pixar machine showed signs of distress, with its sole film of 2023, Elemental, mustering just $496 million at the global box office. Right there, that's Pixar had one movie this year.
I guess so.
That seems kind of crazy to me. Like it came out with one movie all year.
Yeah.
That performance followed the undeniable 2022 dud Lightyear, which was at $226 million. Meanwhile, in an October SEC filing, Disney acknowledged a double-digit profit drop in the sports unit that includes Crown Cable Jewel ESPN's for the first 9 months of fiscal 2023. I don't know if that's a grammatical error. So I just want to end there for a second, because then it goes back into, or actually, let me go into Marvel here. Then they talk about the strike stuff, which we can talk about. But nothing stoked panic around Hollywood like Marvel's spectacular fall. The studio endured one headache after another as quality and box office returns nosedived amid a churn of product, culminating with the disastrous release of The Marvels in November. The film, which cost $250 million, has earned just $203 million worldwide. That's pretty crazy. Considering you had the Barbenheimer effect over the summer. It seemed like people were so excited. It felt like the first time in a while. It's like Marvel movies had been really popular for years, and they got people to the theaters. But that was really kind of relegated to Marvel fans, I feel like, and DC to a lesser extent, that were ravenous but didn't have the broader, like Barbenheimer, and the numbers back this up felt like it was just in the discourse, which is much different than Marvel stuff. And it was the first time I felt in a while that the average person was talking about the movies again, and it was kind of fun. It felt like almost like the 90s or something.
Right.
So to see these numbers, it's kind of paradoxical, because they even say in this article that Marvel and these Disney and Marvel movies bring people to the theaters, which then they have a nice experience, and that keeps them going to the theaters, even if it's not Marvel movies, right? Even if it's other stuff, and this is kind of good for theater. So I am surprised at these numbers. I have to say, from reading this over and mulling it, like, I think while there weren't boycotts like there was for Bud Light, I think people are just kind of sick of it.
Yeah.
And ESPN has some really cringe crit takes. Disney, Marvel, like, I think people are just done with the browbeating. And again, they're still making hundreds of millions of dollars, but that's all relative. And especially, like, a loss is a loss. $250 million to make, and bringing in $206 million, like, that's crazy. If someone told you that in 2019, that a Marvel movie was going to lose money, you would have been like, yeah, right. Like, that, not a chance. Get out of here. No way, no how.
Exactly.
So
I just became a New Yorker and like that. And that went in around.
No way, no how. No way. Get out of here.
And it's crazy, because like they keep raising their own stakes, because they're not doing Marvel movies are not like, oh, it costs $30 million, and so if it makes $60 million, it's like, that's profitable for us. It's like, this movie costs $250 million to make. And then marketing, it's kind of a rule of thumb in Hollywood that the marketing budget for a big movie is about twice the budget. So or it's the budget of the movie. So $250 million to make the movie, and then another $250 million for marketing.
What? Seriously?
Yeah. So shit. It's like, we have to make more than 500. We have to make more than $500 million just to break even. And then, but when you make a mediocre product, it's crazy that like a movie that makes $500 million is considered, not good. It's considered a failure
here. Oh my God! Wait, what is this right? Wikipedia says, so I looked up Barbie. The budget, it says, was between 128 145 million. The box office is 1.442 billion. Is that right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh my God. So right there, like, this is a 2023 movie. This got people into the theaters, and So you can't cope and be like, oh, people just aren't seeing movies anymore.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Right.
And this was like Barbie. I don't think Barbie has the mass appeal. Like right away, I think a lot of men are just going to go, why would I see Barbie?
Yeah.
Like before they know Adam Gosling is really the star of the movie and it's really funny. And Barbie had a lot of political shit in it too, I think. Mm-hmm. But in a way, it almost had like, I don't know how to, like, I'm kind of thinking out loud here. It's like Barbie almost had political messaging in it that made for at least good conversation and was interesting and even kind of fun to like take an axe to, where like Marvel movies don't. It's just kind of the typical, but like the Exorcist, like, well, they didn't let me in their patriarchy. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe that's not a great assessment of it, but Oppenheimer, I haven't seen Oppenheimer yet. I think that's similar numbers though.
Yeah, surprisingly for I know Chris Nolan is a pretty big name. He's pretty popular, but this is huge for a historical biopic. Worldwide, it made $952 million, so almost $1 billion.
Exactly.
And Cillian Murphy, he's somewhat famous, but he's not but he's not as famous as
fantastic
Margot
actor.
Robbie.
Exactly, but he's not. I mean, Cillian Murphy isn't even. Or isn't it Cillian? I always forget.
I believe it's Cillian.
Okay. He's not Tom Cruise.
Right, exactly.
Like he's not. And what else? I'm sorry, I don't mean to just be like Googling on the podcast. I want to look up one more. Is that Top Gun Maverick?
Yeah,
and I know that was 2022, but I just want to see the numbers real quick. Also, 96 Rotten Tomatoes score. Holy shit, that made the most. Almost $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
On a much smaller budget, actually, of 170 to 177 million. Oh wait, no, is that smaller? No, it's more. But anyway, that's a movie about like American militarism, and has great reviews. I saw it. It was great. It was fun.
Yeah.
And that got people in the theater. So it's like Marvel, Disney, it's like it's there.
Yeah.
Again, all relative. They're still doing extremely well. We all want to be in their place, but from like a business standpoint, I mean, these does Disney? They didn't make any of these movies. Was Barbie Disney?
No.
That's Mattel. That's a separate thing. So yeah, you have a movie about American militarism, and basically fighting a foreign enemy. You have a movie about a toy.
Yeah.
That yes, has a lot of annoying political messaging, but it also seemed like kind of fun. I don't know, but it's probably the hardest sell to distinguish here. And then you have Oppenheimer, which is about like German scientists who come from Nazi Germany to create the most evil weapon known to man.
Yeah.
And that and those movies did exceptional with smaller budgets than the Marvels or whatever, which go ahead.
Do you watch or listen to the Critical Drinker podcast or his YouTube channel at all?
No.
He's a Scottish guy. He's great. He's funny, but he's also very insightful. But his whole shtick is that he's kind of like a drunk Scotsman who kind of rips on pop culture and stuff.
Okay.
But anyway, so he also does a podcast with us, sort of like nerd oriented pop culture figures. And one of them brought up an interesting point, which is that a lot of big budget, sort of tentpole blockbuster type movies are now being made for a global audience, whereas up until probably 10 years ago, it was like it wasn't so much that every movie that came out of America was a strictly American patriotic movie, but at least it was made more for an American audience. So it referenced more kind of things that Americans would get. But oftentimes it seems like those movies would often do better. But now we're seeing with these types of movies where it's like, oh, like this can't just appeal to Americans; it has to appeal to we have to appease the Chinese market, and we have to make sure.
Dude.
So there's like this thing of like it's kind of like that old saying of like, if you try to please everybody, you'll please nobody.
Yeah.
Top Gun was a very American military movie, but that was one of the biggest hits of the year. Oppenheimer, about America, developing the nuclear bomb.
I don't think it did too well in Japan.
Exactly, yeah. But like Barbie is a very distinctly like from what I understand, is a distinctly American toy, right? Like
it's probably the most American toy after G.I. Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
but it seems like when those movies where it's like, hey, this comes from American culture, they tend to do better.
Yeah. So one, you're right. I would say there's even a subset of that maybe isn't the subset. Maybe that's the subset, and it's what you said is China. Like, and actually, Vox did a whole video on this. I've talked about this before. Vox did a whole video about how like the CCP only lets so many movies in every year, and they have to kind of hit to check certain boxes, foreign movies, because they want to have their own market. And they were basically, if they haven't already done so, they've basically made like studios out of the size of cities and over there and whatever. And over there, we're the bad guys in all their movies. And but they Vox did this good breakdown of how there will be things in movies that you don't recognize and you don't need to like understand the movie.
Yeah.
That is huge for the Chinese, like a certain drink that a character might drink, or like I know Stanley Tucci in a movie drinks out of some juice box that like to us would just be like, okay, Stanley Tucci's drinking out of juice box, but to them it's like a cultural reference,
right.
And there's been there's this really cringe line in some movie where this actor, an actor I like actually, I forget his name. He's in Chef and he's in I don't know, some other stuff, but he has some lines like, oh, they're like looking at some technological advancement. It's like, oh, leave it to the Chinese to complete this or something. That's just like, so was like that plays over there for obvious reasons. Cause unlike this country where we're constantly shitting on ourselves and everything is evil and terrible. And look, I'm the first one to point those things out about our government, our country. And China, for instance, TikTok, like they promote a lot of achievement and a lot of academic achievement and athletic achievement and these sorts of things where it's like they want that stuff. They want to hear that their country is doing well because it's very propagandist, but they're also a single party, not only government, but state. CCP controls everything. So why Vox are such pieces of shit, because they made this good, like this is a good video, right? And the last thing I'll say about that video in particular was they had I'm blanking on her name, god damn it, blonde British lady and Snowpiercer and The Killer, short hair blonde British lady. I'm so max, I always blank the names when we're on the podcast, but anyway, she is actually she's not supposed to be in the movie. It's supposed to be a Tibetan monk is the character, who's supposed to be like a warrior monk. And because they want, like you said, a global audience, but specifically a Chinese audience, the Chinese were like, absolutely not, because Tibet is not so much anymore. But if you remember in the 90s, 80s and 90s, the Free Tibet was like a big movement, kind of like Free Palestine now. Like it had like, that's who Rage Against the Machine was making shows for. And that was like the, what was it? Cause Celeb of that era. Which still once in a while see like a Free Tibet thing. It's like, oh, that's sweet. Like it's 1993.
That was Tilda Swinton.
Again. Tilda Swinton, yes.
For Doctor Strange,
Yes, Tilda Swinton. They have her, a blonde white lady who is a Celtic monk or something. Fine. Totally cool. Thank you, Vox, for pointing that out. A few years later, Vox comes out with another video about whitewashing and how Hollywood will turn characters of color to white characters. And I comment, I'm not a big commenter on YouTube. I comment, I'm like, I paste, I'm like, Vox, your own company made a video about this. Not only would it take 5 minutes of research to see why a country of color, that's what they call it, the Chinese, wanted to switch that to a white character, and that our spineless producers capitulated to that. But you made a video pointing that out like 2 to 3 years earlier. And like you couldn't even do that. Like you couldn't, like there's that little cohesion. I don't believe it. Like I don't think you're acting in good faith. So anyway, all that to say that yes, I think that is kind of flattening movies, making them less interesting. And I think now we're finally starting to see the ripple effects of that, because I think it's partly that. I also think what I said earlier, it's people are kind of done with it. Like there are enough options out there. People are just going to watch other stuff that isn't going to beat them over the head with messaging. It's like okay, I'm not saying that you need like white characters all the time. You can't change characters, you can't change stories.
Sure.
But it's nonstop. It's
Yeah,
like every little thing, to where it's changing like historical figures like Cleopatra to a sub-Saharan Black African lady when she was of Greek descent.
Yeah, it's getting super heavy-handed, and it seems like so many movies and TV shows even are controversial before they even come out. It's not like it came out and then it was a box office success, and then people are debating the merits of it. It's like months before a movie comes out, like the producer or the director or the writer will come out and be like, yeah, we decided to change the race of this character, and it's like, okay, you know how controversial that is right now, and you're you're saying that out loud before your movie comes out. Like, cool, you shot your movie in the foot. So
yeah. Like how did Little Mermaid do? I'm curious.
Not do well. I don't even think it was that even released in theaters. I thought it was just a straight to Netflix.
No, definitely. I think my sister saw it.
Oh,
let me see. I think it did pretty well. Yeah, $297 budget.
Shit.
$569 box office.
Okay, yeah, I would not necessarily consider that a hit, because let's see, around $300 million budget, which means had a $300 million roughly marketing budget. So probably needed to make closer to $600 million.
I don't get that. How is that possible?
I guess the bigger the movie, the more like we're not just promoting to the US, we're promoting to all markets around the world.
It's really you double the budget to get like the net profit. Isn't it also true that Hollywood just operates constantly at a deficit, like a quote unquote deficit for like tax reasons?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like where everything is a loss. They literally call it.
Yeah.
Isn't it a term like Hollywood accounting, where like everything is a loss so that they don't pay taxes? That's probably a oversimplification.
Yeah,
that is a thing.
Yeah. I mean, that term exists for a reason.
I'm not going to point out I'm not doing it, Joe. You're not setting me up.
Oh, I know. I know.
The demographic that runs these studios. I'm not saying it.
Oh yeah, no.
I think that Israel has a right to exist, Joe.
Good.
I'm not saying anything about accounting, so you're not going to get me to do it. Not today, Satan.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. It's I mean, like how they just wrote off Batgirl.
Yeah, right. Like, but that's insane. Like a movie just doesn't happen. That they didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. They completed the movie.
They shot most of it. Yeah.
Oh, they shot most of it. I thought like they edited it and it was ready, and they're like, nope, just not. I don't know.
Yeah,
because we'll never know.
I know we will never know. Apparently it's like literally locked up in a vault. And so if they were to ever release it, then they'll have to pay back.
Oh my god, it must be so bad.
Where's the thing? From what I heard, it was not that bad. It wasn't so much. From what I understand, it was just Warner Brothers had just switched. There was like new management, and so like the new guy that came in was just not happy with it. But he was one guy. It seemed like everybody else. It seemed like production was going smoothly. I didn't hear anything like the producers are upset. They're going to do reshoots. The test audiences weren't having it. It was just like the new was like, we're taking the studio in a new direction. I don't like this movie. It's not even worth releasing on HBO Max. Let's just get rid of it and write it off.
Yeah, you can't even. That's what I mean. Like, it's so devoid of any artistic benefit or financial. They can't even throw it on a streaming platform.
Yeah.
Get something for it, like the tax benefit, which is kind of perverse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying it.
I know. But yeah, I mean, like going through this article though, it's just like it's funny because I didn't think about it at the time, but it's like, yeah, this was a shitty year for Hollywood. So like Jonathan Majors, who was poised to be like the next big, villain in Marvel.
Who was he?
He was playing Kang the Conqueror.
Was that a race swap character, or is he always black?
Good question. So he's got a bunch of different. He's like a multiversal character. So he's got a bunch of different versions.
Okay,
There's one
of
who's
course he is.
Egyptian. I know. Yeah, there's one who's Egyptian. So I guess that's Egypt's in Africa. So
yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah, but even then, like here's the thing: the character was always portrayed as having blue skin. So it seemed like his race was kind of like not really stated. Right. So I was like, all right, like I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
like, it didn't seem too blatant.
Yeah. Okay. They were very forward thinking there. It's like, well, eventually anyone's gonna be able to play anyone. So here we can really cover our bases.
Exactly. Yeah.
Make them blue.
Exactly. So then you had the 2 strikes.
Yeah, you had the strikes, which obviously didn't help Hollywood. I get, production, of course, and management. I think it definitely helped those who were striking. At least, I don't know, maybe it didn't if people really got screwed by that. But in terms of a contract and concessions, I think it was considered fairly positive for the strikers. That kind of lost steam. I feel like everything, which really sucks in my opinion, because I'm way more interested in domestic issues. Everything kind of lost steam after the October 7th attacks, like the Hamas attacks. Like everything is about Israel Palestine now, and everything else got kind of put on the back burner,
which is also part of what's going on in Hollywood, because you had a couple of actresses who got canned because of their statements on what's going on.
We talked about that a couple episodes back. So we went into detail about that. But here, this is a common theme that we talk about. Oh, you know what? I had a Post-it note next to here for like 2 weeks. You mentioned something about the University of Chicago. And I'm so annoyed because you brought up the University of Chicago, and then hold on, not making statements. There's a term that here, Chicago principles. They're called the something principles, and basically it's don't make statements about what's going on, because in the world, whatever it is that day, right? The cost to live that day. You don't make statements about it, because then you either, one, will alienate other people, because not everyone's on the same page about everything. And 2, when you're silent and your silence is always taken in the least generous light. And it's always looked at, well, you're being silent, so you must not agree with me. Exactly. And then you're basically alienating everyone. And I'm so annoyed because I had this term written down, so I was going to bring it up, because I know University of Chicago, I think this came up during the George Floyd protests. And oh my God, this is so annoying. But that's the point of it, right? These are, I guess they're saying Chicago principles, but that's not the term. They might have just taken that. So anyway, that's part of what the WGA got into trouble for, because right here, just like I always bring up my hockey team, like you're tweeting about the Kyle Rittenhouse, you're tweeting about, it's like, well, then when you're silent, it's like, well, why aren't you tweeting about this? Why aren't you saying, like, why aren't you posting about this issue? So right here, it says the WGA silence, as well as vocal criticism of Israel post October 7th from pockets of the industry, took many by surprise, considering how Hollywood was in lockstep in the wake of other terrorist attacks like 9/11 and the Bataclan siege in Paris, both of which spawned celebrity support, including fundraisers and benefit concerts. So then it talks about the stuff we discussed before, Melissa Barrera, Susan Sarandon. So it's like, well, this issue, like, okay, 9/11, I think, was the most unifying issue, right? That's an easy one. Bataclan Theater, for the most part, I mean, for me, it's just as easy as 9/11, but from a kind of totality, like looking at it objectively, there are going to be people who talk about like not offending Muslims and shit like that, which is moronic, but fine. Also pretty easy, but like the Hamas, October 7th, Israel, like it's comprehensive. It's like, I understand why, maybe just don't say anything, but you already dug yourself that hole. Like, unless you're you're putting it in the context of your union. Don't say anything. And I'm seeing this, and I hate this as a union supporter. This is going on where it's like not everyone's going to agree. So the union should not take a stance unless it affects the union, unless it affects your health care, your hours, your wages, things like that. You shouldn't have a stance on it.
Yes,
because a union is a union of many people. That's the point.
Right.
And you're supposed to be on the same page about those basic issues, but you're not going to be about international affairs. So anyway, that's another issue that's going on in Hollywood, which is going to, unfortunately, break this, going to cause schisms in this union, which I never want to see.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And because like, no matter, even if, they had released, a sort of middle of the road statement of like, our hearts go out to those who are suffering in this terrible thing, blah, blah, blah. That's still not going to appease.
No, not at all. It's going to be like, well, why is your heart going out to them?
Right.
Right. And them can be whoever. And well, so your heart goes out to terrorists, or your heart goes out to the IDF, or like, so yeah, just don't say anything. It's the best way to go. Don't say anything unless it has to do with like what you do.
Yeah.
People see that all the time. Like even, I don't know, you have all of these politicians posting about Kwanzaa. No one celebrates Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
No one does. Black people make fun of Kwanzaa. It's not a real holiday. It was made up by in the 1966. Yeah, 1960s, during that crazy time, by like a Marxist black guy who thought Christmas was white, even though a lot of black people in America are like the most religious people, Christian people, and he wanted black people to have their own holiday as no connection to religion, and he turned out to be a torturer of women.
Jeez.
Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, this guy like kidnapped women and tortured them in his basement and went to prison for it.
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
So like, no, like Juneteenth is a good holiday. It's part of American history. Sure. That if you're going to have like a rallying black holiday, that's the one should be. And guess what? It's a federal holiday now, as it should be. Kwanzaa is not even federal holiday, but it's like, that's why there'll be the picture of like Happy Kwanzaa. And it's like those who are celebrating, it's like a bunch of white women in a boardroom.
Well, Hollywood is in deep doo-doo.
Yeah, so this says it's a bad year for Hollywood, but I think it's a good year for movies. And when I say movies, I don't mean like, I'm not talking about the industry. Right. I'm not talking about the box office. I'm talking about like the art form.
Yeah,
I think there's some really, really good movies out there. Yeah. A lot of them, and I know this is going to sound so snobby, but a lot of the best movies I've seen over the last few years are foreign films, and they just are. I think my best movie of last year, or was it 2 years ago? No, it was 2 years ago, because Banshees of Inisherin is a foreign film, I believe, right? It's Irish. It's not a foreign language film, but it's a foreign film. 2 years ago was The Hand of God, an Italian film. A Hero is an Iranian film that's amazing. Just a lot of these, those are off the top of my head, like Parasite, of course, was a foreign language film. So
Top Gun Maverick was, San Diego,
yeah, that's like another country. And of course there are great American movies too, but like that's not Hollywood. Like there's a lot of great stuff, and unless there's like Hollywood productions that are overseas, which I don't know. Everything's kind of interconnected now. They make Volkswagen in Brazil. So I think there's a lot of great movies out there. I've seen some really interesting ones this year, both domestic and foreign, and which is great. And I'm glad that there was the Barbenheimer effect. I think that I love being able to get all these movies on streaming. Also, I don't think it's killed the movies like a lot of people predicted. Because while I think 2020 was definitely a down year overall, 2021 was down. I thought last year actually had some great movies. Now I'm thinking about it, and both foreign and domestic, and I think this year is too.
I mostly agree with you. but I think, well, let me put it this way: I don't really watch. I only watch good American-made movies.
Looks you're a patriot.
I'm a patriot. Yeah.
You're a Latinx patriot.
Exactly. But there is one thing that, for me personally, and actually, you brought this up, and I didn't believe you, and I should have. I'm sorry, Ben. But you brought this up that A24 is moving into bigger movies.
You thought I made that up?
Yeah, I thought you were full of shit. Because I was gushing. I was just like, "Oh, A24, what a great studio! Smaller, but they do great."
I said to fuck with you.
Yeah, and I was like, "No, man, it's not true. It can't be true. Tell me." Yeah, they're moving into so Civil War, which we talked about in the last episode, has a $75 million budget, which is small by Hollywood standards, but that's big for A24.
But like that to me doesn't feel like that seems like a big budget A24 movie. I don't know. Like it's not like they're doing the multiverse of gayness or something, like some cape wearing, energy shooting movie. Like it's a big scale kind of unfortunately topical movie with like really good actors. I mean, Jesse Plemons, Nick Offerman. I don't know. If that's the kind of big budget stuff A24 is going to do, I'm all for it. And I don't think that means they're going to stop making more artsy movies. Some of those movies are extremely successful, and I don't think they're going to jettison that at all. I just think they've grown so much that they're going to do both, which I'm all for. And if that makes competition for other producers to make big budget stuff, because that is somewhere where I do see if there's going to be a kind of derogation or dearth of movies anywhere. I think it might be the big budget when you see kind of failures like, I don't know if it's failures or we're like Napoleon. I haven't seen it. It's got pretty bad reviews, but it's a very expensive movie. Big name historical figure, big name actors that didn't do well. And also Ridley Scott, The Last Duel, like I loved that movie because it's a medieval legal drama with dueling and swords and shit. Like that's my kind of movie, but not mass appeal. I think that's also very expensive. I could see that going away, which would suck. So if there's more studios making big budget stuff that's interesting, like a Civil War movie, which again could be awful, like it might be unwatchable, it might be really good, I don't know, then I'm all for it, because maybe that's why these movies are kind of are stinking, because they don't have competition.
So I'm hoping that this is my turn to burst your bubble a little bit, because A24 recently was bidding on the rights to Halloween, the Halloween franchise.
Okay, but why would that burst my bubble?
Well, because I mean, I my
bubble's fully intact, in full.
Damn it. Well, it's just because I think that's indicative of the direction that they want to go into, which is like franchise, like IP. existing IP stuff.
Sure. Okay. Again, well, fine.
No, not fine.
Do I? Well, okay. So it's like, okay, not fine. Do I want them necessarily to do that? No. If it was like Ben gets to choose, do that or do something else, I would click the button that says do something else. But if that's the route they're going for big budget, which is a beloved, not by me, but beloved horror staple IP, fine. Like I'd rather see them do that.
Okay.
I think maybe we should go another decade before they start doing Halloween. Other, like A24 did Midsommar, they did Hereditary. Like they did The Witch. They have the chops to do horror.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, make your own. Like we haven't had, besides that horrific psychopath who our friends love, is it Art the Clown?
Oh yeah, the Terrifier movies.
Yeah, Terrifier. Like we haven't had a real new horror movie villain staple, have we? Like
I don't think so.
No, we're still redoing ones from the late 70s and 80s. I don't know, A24, make your own horror movie guy and make 6 movies of it, fine, but do it in your style. That would be so cool. I would welcome that, even if number 5 stinks. Like I would welcome that, because at least it's original.
Right. Well,
So you haven't burst my bubble yet. If they do like, oh, and now we're gonna do the Eternals. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what the Eternals is. What? That's Marvel or is it DC?
It's Marvel. Idiot.
Okay.
How do you not know that, stupid idiot?
I don't know, man. Like I get it all gets jumbled together.
I thought you were a movie guy. Fucking.
I am a movie guy.
Those get off a podcast.
I am a movie guy.
You don't know what the Eternals are? Jesus Christ.
I can't name. What are they? Are they like they're the superheroes?
I don't even know exactly. I think
I don't know who's in them. Oh god damn it. Okay.
Salma Hayek was in. She played one of them, and then Angelina Jolie played one of them, and then.
Okay, sure. Fine. Last thing I want to say, movie wise, because I watched Saltburn. I'm not going to go into it. We can do a Saltburn. I'm not.
I want to check it out.
It's beautifully shot. It is really. It's the most cinematic movie I've seen so far this year. It's not. I don't know. I love it because it throws a lot at you in terms of direction. Like there's a lot of misdirection. It's not because I think there's a handful of topics I think people are getting sick of. I'm getting one. I got sick of a while ago. It was like multiverse shit, with some exception. Multiverse stuff. I love Rick and Morty, but that's a show. I thought Crazy Multiversal Asians was really good
at once or whatever.
Yeah, but that assassin movies, I'm starting to get a little fatigue again. Killer was a little different, but fatigue. Another fatigue I think a lot of people are getting is Eat the Rich fatigue. This is not that, but it kind of is, and I don't want to spoil it. It's like it is and it isn't. So that's all I'll say. But definitely see it. It's probably I haven't written the review yet. It's probably my top movie right now of 2023. But why I'm bringing this up. Barry, is it Keoghan or Keoghan? I don't know how to pronounce it. I've looked it up.
Yeah.
I know
what you're talking about.
I think he's going to be one of the best actors of our generation.
He's playing the Joker too. So
that's why I'm bringing it up, because he had that cameo as the Joker. After seeing Saltburn, I am so much more excited for that, because Batman.
He was one of the Eternals, actually. Funny that you mentioned.
I can't tell if you're kidding.
No, I'm dead serious. He actually was.
Was he? Okay. All right. Well, he's fantastic. I'm glad that he got his payday and then went and did Saltburn, and he's not just sticking to that stuff, because he is so fucking good in this movie. And he doesn't honestly, he doesn't even look real sometimes. Like he almost looks like he's molded out of, it's crazy. Like he doesn't even look like a real person, not in like a plasticky way. Like he's so good looking that he's like like a young Brad Pitt or something. Like, no, he just, something about him just doesn't look real. But I think he is such I've loved him since I saw him in Killing of a Sacred Deer. I am so excited now for the Joker, which is actually like one of my exceptions is I do love the Batman movies. I'll see like pretty much any Batman movie, not counting the Ben Affleck ones. I haven't seen, but I love like I think, and I really was surprised with how much I like the Pattinson Batman in that story. Maybe because it's like grunge Batman, but I'm for it, and I'm very, very excited for that. So that's why I brought that up.
Barry Keoghan looks he looks a little unfinished. You know what I mean? Like somebody
he's not finished rendering. Yeah,
like we got to figure we add a few more details.
He is. I have like I think I have a crush on Barry Keoghan. I thought it was Chalamet, but it might be Keoghan, man.
So you like that low resolution look, eh?
Yeah. What can I say? I love that picture of there's this picture of like I think is it Steve Carell and Chalamet, or is it Adam Sandler and Chalamet? I forget, but it's like, well, he has like a big beard. It might be Sandler. It's like Plato, and it's like all those like Greek philosophers and their femboys.
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, I love Chalamet. I am going to see Wonka. I'm a Chalamaniac. But Barry Keoghan, however you pronounce it. I really think I'm saying it right now. So episode 106. 107, right. 106. I think he's going to be one of the top actors of our generation.
All right. Okay.
Take it to the bank.
You can bet on that.
Yeah.
All right, man. So do you think that and probably wrap this up, but do you think 2024 will be a better year? Do you think Hollywood will learn from its lessons, or are we just going through growing pains, like in the 50s when television came out and that kind of threatened the film industry? And...
Will it? I think it will, because I don't know, like we saw a lot of the problems, but we don't know the like the causes for them. My speculation is that my assessment is that it's partly to do with fatigue, it's partly to do with messaging, political, like I don't know, man, conservatives and also people who aren't conservatives who just like an escape and don't want politics in their popcorn movies and their one time to the theater in 3 months. Like I think people are just like, you know what, I just won't go see this movie. I don't know, maybe I'm totally off, but I think it's a lot of people who are just like, I'm kind of tired of it, and they're not that great, like the quality is down also. I can skip it.
When my progressive friend, we went to see this is a couple years ago, obviously.
I'm Joe. I have a progressive friend.
I don't hate progressives. One of my best friends is progressive. He's pretty progressive, but he's not particularly identitarian though. But we saw Terminator Genesis or Terminator Renovation, the latest one.
Renovation
reboot or whatever. The one that actually had Schwarzenegger back.
And it had what, the Sarah Connor back?
Yeah. So that
Sarah
one.
Connor.
But there's a whole sequence that kind of takes place like at the Mexican, like the Mexico-America border. And so, of course it touched on immigration and stuff. And so like it wasn't making a firm stance, but even my friend was like, yeah, I wanted to watch robots punching each other. I didn't want to be reminded of immigration. Just having that in there was just
AOC's in the background just crying
with in front of a photographer.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I'm feeling pretty.
I don't know. I'm still in 2023 mode because my movie year ends at the Oscars. So like the first 2.5 months of the new year, I just try and catch up. Like movies, like I try, eventually nominations come out. I try and see everything, it's tough. But I try and see everything that's going to be nominated, at least for the big categories, if possible, so I can make informed recommendations and predictions, because it's fun and
cool.
Well, that's why people tune in.
Well, I mean, when it comes to like the state of Hollywood, I am a short-term pessimist and long-term optimist. I would like to think that maybe it won't happen in the super near future, but maybe like we'll get to a point where it's like, okay, we're just going through these growing pains, like these new industries popped up, like streaming and whatnot, have kind of thrown a wrench into the way Hollywood works. But that will, I hope, will lead to a new renaissance like we saw like in the 70s.
I guess when you say, is Hollywood synonymous with movies, or do you mean like Hollywood? Like, I don't give a shit about Hollywood. Like A24 isn't Hollywood, right? Like they're based in New York. Yeah,
but they do have a Hollywood studio.
They have a Hollywood studio. So I guess like I don't know. I care about the state of movies.
Right.
But like movies, I feel positive about. I don't think, I mean, it survived COVID. I don't give a shit about Hollywood. Like as long as good movies are coming out, whether they're made by the big, however many production companies, the big five or whatever, or made by indie films and I don't know, checklist like Bratislava. Like I don't give a shit. Like if good movies are good movies.
Well, Hollywood's like 20 minutes away, so I have a little more.
Yeah, but you live in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
True. Yes.
So it's not like if Hollywood went away. Like what would happen? Like okay, Beverly Hills would also suck. Like so what? I'm kidding. LA's fine.
But it makes me be more specific, like American cinema. I think.
Yeah, definitely. As a nationalist, I always want American industry to do well. But I don't. Honestly, if they're going to pander to the CCP, I don't give a shit if they fail. I don't care. So how I feel about the NBA. Like, if you're going to put the interests of other countries ahead of ours, like I don't care if you fail.
Right. Yeah.
Well, America, fuck yeah. Saving. Oh, last comment, real quick. Colm Tobin. No, you'll like this. You're a homer. Colm Tobin, who wrote Brooklyn, the novel, which I read, which I watched recently, from 2015 with Saoirse Ronan. He lives in your neighborhood,
Highland Park.
That's what it says on the Wikipedia page. So I looked him up. So if you run into a gay Irish man Tell him I said hello.
No. All right, cool. I'll tell him, and next time I see him, and I'll be like, "Hey, Ben says hi," and
but I guess I can't do it. Oh, who's Ben? My Irish accent is one of my more racist accents.
That's pretty good. I think it's you. If you were telling me that you're from, what's the capital of Ireland? North Ireland?
Dublin.
Yeah, that's the one. If you I would have believed you there. I'd be like, oh shit, man. Oh, you're from there.
Oh, I the Pete.
Stop, dude. You're confusing me.
What happened to bed? All right, get out of here, you rascal.
All right. Fight the crits.
Fight the crits. Yeah. Check out our shit. Peace.
Oh yeah. We have a Patreon. Check it out.
Check it out.
Bye, everybody.